All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning to some of you. For some of you, it's very early morning right now. For some of you, it's very late night. For me, it's Thursday, September 9th, 2021. For some of you, it might be September 10th, and others, it's September 8th. So we are coming at each other from all different sides of the time space continuum, I guess. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hello to everybody in the chat that's already here. Let me do my little disclaimer. So, welcome to A Deeper PTE. I am your host, PTE, also known as Permission to Exist. Here on this channel, we allow ourselves to explore the far out, the unproven, the religious, and the spiritual. We also go more in depth on topics that are not necessarily suited for my main channel. The majority, meaning not all, but the majority of this channel's content is based in opinion, speculation, and theory, not necessarily facts. Nothing here presented should be construed as medical advice. Always consult with your physician for all health and medical decisions. Please do your own research and come to your own fact based conclusions. And at some point, I'm going to add this on the slide. Please don't leave out of here crazier than you showed up. Management thanks you so much for your cooperation and your participation. Welcome, everybody. All right. So while we are waiting for a few folks to get here, I want to tell you guys a funny story while we wait to start the actual show. So many of you know, if you've been following, you know that I'm in the middle of I was going to say a court drama. Wow, we're not there yet, PTE, not yet. Slow down. Don't jump so far ahead. I was going to say, I'm in the middle of a court battle. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I'm in the middle of this court battle. No, it's not a court battle. Um, I'm in the middle of a battle that many people are in the middle of currently. And that is currently fighting for our jobs for choosing not to take the haircut. Most of you know what the haircut means. If you're new, you'll have to use your context clues. So many of us are currently in the middle of that. And in that fight, part of what was requested of us was, well, those of us who had one or had them, was either a medical or religious exemption, which I've been very surprised to see. All of them pretty much read the exact same. Like when I look at them online and I listen to other people's stories, I'm like, did they all copy and paste from the same lawyer's playbook? Because they all read the exact same. It's insane. It's crazy. But anyway, I just my little cohort, my little coalition, the detractors and we all decided that it would be best to play by the rules and go ahead and file exemptions, medical, religious, or both, whatever. So I did. So in that, I had to go see my doctor, and they at first were kind of hesitant, and they were like, "Well, why don't you want the vaccine?" And I was like, "Do you really have enough time for that answer?" And they said, "Well, just give me a just give me a rundown." So I started kind of giving them a rundown of all the different reasons. And for the first time, I really paid attention to how they really don't listen to us in medicine and really don't listen to our concerns, because as soon as I got through giving her like a synopsis of my concerns, she starts to tell me about how great the vaccine is. And so so you know me, guys. I was like, "Well, tell me more." I said, "Which one did you get?" Oh God, I said the word. Whoops. Haircut, haircut, haircut. Um, I said, "Which one did you get?" She said, "Oh, I got the modern haircut." She goes, "And that one's really rough on the body." I said, "So you want me to put my body's already going through things, and you want me to take something and put it through more?" And she goes, "Oh, well, yes. And that's so your body will recognize it if it comes into contact with it." I said, "Well, isn't that doing the exact same thing then?" I said, "If I come in contact with it and it's going to put me through a rough scenario, and I take one of these haircuts and that's going to put me through a rough scenario." I said, "It sounds like I'm going through a rough scenario either way." And she just started laughing. But here's where she really fell out. I said, "So, okay." I said, "So are you planning on getting the booster?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah." She goes, "As soon as it's available, yeah, absolutely. I'm making my appointment, getting it right away." I said, "Wow." I said, "Y'all are junkies." And she just started rolling and just cracking up and laughing so hard. And I started laughing because she knew it was true. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Y'all are junkies." And she goes, "Well, let me tell you." She goes, "That same day," she said, "I got my second modern." She said, "I got my shingles haircut and I got my flu haircut." I said, "Girl, stop." This is me talking to the nurse practitioner, okay, in the meeting room or the exam room. I said, "Girl, stop." I said, "You got to stop." And she just kept laughing. She knows she's out of control. She knows she's out of control. And I think I might have been the first person to tell her, "Girl, stop. Girl, what are you doing? Stop." But eventually, anyway, they ultimately ended up writing it up for me because I do have issues, like I told y'all, with these bones. Oh my God. And I think it's a direct result of my flu haircut that I took a few years ago. I really, really do. And the more I research this whole entire thing, the more I really believe I was truly harmed by that flu haircut. And the problem is, I'll never really know because you can't exactly go back to the state that you were in prior to receiving it. So it would be one thing if I felt like this without having ever got a flu haircut, because then I could rule that out. I'd be like, well, I haven't taken a haircut since I was a kid, so it shouldn't be that. But because I took it and then symptoms started shortly after, for me, there is a direct connection that it's hard to disprove for me. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that little opening story. I thought you all might find that entertaining. I said, "Girl, stop. Oh my God. They turned y'all into junkies." She got the CV haircut, the shingles haircut, and the flu haircut all on the same day. I said, "What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you guys?" But they just want it, man, like craving it like junkies. Junkies. Okay? They've turned these people into absolute junkies. All right. But hopefully that was her wake up call. I really, really hope. I think I have this look in my eyes. I think I have a way of communicating horror, and I don't think I realize it. It's just it's a look. It's like, and then when you have the mask on, you can't see my mouth, but I'm sure you can tell my mouth is wide open based on the way my eyes look. But I'm pretty sure I communicated horror to her in that moment. Girl, stop. Oh my God. Allow me to step in and tell you to stop. Allow me to be the first one to tell you to stop, girl. But I understand because she's a nurse practitioner. She comes in contact with many different unwell people all day, including people who are probably carriers of that the touch. So I understand her position. I really do. But I do not understand 3 in 1 day. That I don't get. Okay. That I find excessive. As her interim health professional, I'm not a real doctor, guys. I'm just joking, just being facetious. But as her interim health professional, I'm going to ask her to stop this madness. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the chat. And as you fill in, let's go ahead and start the show. Okay. So, again, I promise this is not going to become the haircut channel, a deeper haircut. It's just that this is a very unique and unprecedented time. And I think we need to talk about it and keep up with the changes as they occur. And I can't do this on my other channel. So there's that. Also, I have something very special coming for you guys that I intend on starting this weekend because the thing I need to start it, I should receive tomorrow. So this is not the thing that I was alluding to in the last live stream, the thing that should be done around Halloween. This is not that. This is actually something different. And I believe that I can start it and complete it this weekend. I'm not sure, but we'll see. So it's a surprise, but I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And I think you guys are going to be so excited to see what it is. So I hope so. If not, it'll be a truly wasted effort, but it'll be fun for me. So at least it'll be fun for at least one person. But I think you guys will enjoy it. So let's go ahead and start the show. First, before we get into the history of the Tuskegee Experiment, which I think is very important, in particular for for a couple different audiences. One, for those who are completely unaware and unfamiliar, especially international audiences, may not be aware of the Tuskegee experiment and what took place here in the United States in the relatively recent past. Like all things considered, it was recent, okay? So I want those who've never heard of it to be aware. Number two, those who've heard of it but don't necessarily know the details. I want you to know the details. And the purpose of me presenting that to you ultimately is for audience number three, those who just can't understand why we won't run out and get this thing. Those who just can't get it. Those who are like super upset with myself and other people who've taken this particular position. They don't necessarily know the history behind it. So I want to make sure you know the history. So if nothing else, you understand why roughly 70% of Black people in the United States of America are like, oh, nah, I'm good. Okay. But before we get there, let's do a brief update on where we are as it stands currently regarding our haircuts. Okay. Then we'll get into the history of the Tuskegee experiment. Then we'll close on something that people may not be familiar with, which is your patient bill of rights, which I really only knew existed vaguely. I didn't realize it was a thing. This was a recommendation by a viewer. So thank you to that viewer for this recommendation. They said, PTE, perhaps you should pull that up and review it with us. And then everyone should have that PDF in their back pocket at all times, especially right now. And I could not agree more. So hopefully they're listening. I don't remember exactly who it was, but thank you for the recommendation. Okay. Welcome. One more thing before we get started. Hopefully you guys know that I don't see all the comments as they start to roll in, but I do see them when I watch the playback. And y'all have had me in tears the past couple of days when I watch the playbacks on some of these shows. Tears, okay? So I just wanted y'all to know that. And I'm glad I don't see those comments when I'm doing the show. Because if I did, I would just start laughing and I wouldn't be able to finish, as does happen sometimes. Um, but y'all have been cracking me up, man. So thank you for the laughs. I appreciate it. Okay. So let's get into this. First of all, shout out to the viewers who made me aware of this the day that it was happening. Um, and I did go ahead and look into it, and it is official and real. Israel's national CV czar encourages country to prepare for a fourth haircut dose, report says. Fourth. Okay. Now, when this all first started, and I was cracking jokes with you guys, saying, "What are y'all going to do when y'all start hitting number 4, 5, and 6?" Honestly, like it was really tongue in cheek because I really didn't think it would come to that. I'm like, okay, you get the one dose, then you get the second. That's pretty standard. That's even standard in animals. You know, you get a puppy or a kitten, you take them to get the one shot, then you got to wait like 3 weeks and bring them back for their second one. So just like our farm animals and our domestic pets, two in a row is not unusual. It's not unusual for some other haircuts either for humans, I don't think. But honestly, I really thought that would be I thought that would be about it, you know? And then they would just kind of perfect those over time and that would just kind of be it. Well, shortly thereafter, the booster, the trim rolled out, you know, and it went from it dripped out, shall I say. It went from, oh, only those who are immunocompromised should receive a trim, to, oh, well, yeah, a trim should probably be made available for everybody, to, yeah, we're pretty much waiting to approve trims for everybody, including children, I believe. That's a speculation. I'm not sure. I'd have to verify that. No, they have to approve the first and second round for kids before they can approve the trims. But basically, it's trims for everybody. Okay. If you want a trim, you can get a trim. Now they're creating this this FOMO, this fear of missing out, by comparing the different hair. Oh, did I grab that too? Let me make sure I grab that too. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I just have to let me just take y'all off the screen real quick so I can throw it up here. Um, So now they're creating competition is the word I think I was looking for between the trims to where it's like, "Oh, I got this one, but you got that one and your trim is almost ready, but my trim won't be ready for another 6 months. That's not fair." So now there's FOMO. Now they've created FOMO, fear of missing out, FOMO, regarding what brand you received. And dang it, this one is behind a paywall. Not a problem. I'm going to find. I'll just leave it up there to remind myself to grab it. Um, so now they're creating FOMO, okay, to make you feel bad for the brand that you got and how long you're going to have to wait for your trim. These people are brilliant. Listen, I've been complaining about these psychopaths for a long time, but I got to give them credit for at least their craftiness and for them knowing us better than we know ourselves. Hold on one second. Let me just do it right now because I know I'll forget. Welcome everybody as you fill into the chat. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And this is a perfect example of what I mean by they want us to run out and get something, but they don't tell us the whole story at first. And then they tell us the whole story later. And I don't like that. And I knew that though. That's how they operate. That's why I was from day one. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to pass on that. I passed on it long before everybody else did. That's not true. A lot of people from day one were like, oh, nah. But what I'm saying is before all the so-called quote unquote misinfo came out, I'll say for that word, I'm going to say incorrect info. That was before all the quote unquote incorrect info came out. That's when they were just talking about developing one. I was like, nah, I'm good because I just know how you work. All right, so now let's go back. Let me pull my screen back. Welcome everybody to the chat. Welcome as you fill in. So yes, so now this is being published on CNET, and you can find this confirmed in other areas as well, other official sources. But Israel's national CB czar encourages the country to prepare for a fourth haircut dose, report says. More than 2.5 million Israelis had reportedly received a third dose. They're junkies over there, baby. And from what I've heard, and I had trouble confirming this for myself, so this is a speculation and hearsay because I had trouble verifying it. From what I've heard, Israel is the most haircut and also has the highest rate of the touch anywhere in the world. So make that make sense. But anyway, more than 2.5 million Israelis had reportedly received a third dose of the haircut by September 3rd, but the country's CB czar is already talking about a potential fourth dose. So when they use words like potential, you can go ahead and consider that the drip. And if you're not sure what the drip is, please reference my last live stream on this channel. But anytime they use words like potential, likely, maybe, uncertain, unsure, we don't know, they definitely know and it's definitely coming. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the details regarding this. It says Israel's national CB czar, Salman Zarka, is asking the country to prepare for a fourth dose of the CB haircut, according to a report Saturday from the Times of Israel. Zarka reportedly did not specify when the fourth haircut would be administered. Quote, "This is our life from now on in waves," unquote, Zarka told Khan, public radio of the pandemic and multiple virus strains. Zarka reportedly said that the next trim could be modified to better protect against new variants of the touch, like the triangle and the mu, okay? And the moo cow. That's what I should call that one. So like the triangle and the moo cow. You got to give it up for content creators and our code language that we've been developing lately. Got to give it up. I've heard some of the funniest, funniest code language. I can't think of any right now, but if I do, I'll share some of the funny ones. Israel, let's see, was reportedly the first country to offer the third haircut or the third trim, which began rolling out on August 1st for those over the age of 60. As of September 3rd, more than 2.5 million Israelis had received the third trim. And it says US officials have set an initial date of September 20th for trims. But on September 3rd, officials from the FAD, as well as I don't have a good code one for that one. I have to come up. I should just say the disco because of the C's and the D's. The disco, as well as the disco, are advising the White House to scale back its original trim recommendation. And that's why those the top FAD officials resigned, because they told these people, please stop. Please get a hold of yourselves, get a grip. Okay. We don't need these things for like another 8 months. Children, especially, don't need them for another 8 months. And essentially, the White House overrode them, and they didn't want any parts of that. They're like, well, no, well, you're not going to override me. Sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and resign, because when this blows up in your face, I don't want to be anywhere around. Okay. So it says, hold on one second. Where's my mouse? It says currently government officials are warning that the trims may be available. There you go. May be available only to those who received the Fizzer haircut. Regulators will need more time to evaluate haircuts from Modern and JJ. Okay. So right now, Fizzer is the only haircut whose trim is even up for discussion. The other two are trying to get theirs done, but so far they have not met the regulatory deadlines. And keep this in mind also, you guys. JJ was supposed to be one and done, remember? JJ was the one cut. You were supposed to be able to take the one cut and be completely done, remember? And now JJ is talking about a trim. So for those of you who are upset with me and can't understand why I won't go do this, and can't understand why I would share these thoughts with other people, potentially influencing them to do the same, which I hope you'll make your own decisions for your own reasons. This is one of the reasons why. Because it's like, what if I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get the JJ. So I only have to go through this once. So I go get it, get the JJ, go through whatever side effects I go through. And then I think I'm done. And then I find out a few months later that not only is the effectiveness wearing off, but I might need to get a trim. And if I live in Israel, I might be coming up on trim number 4, guys. So once again, it begs one of my questions, which is, can I jump in at number 4? Or do I have to start back at 1? I'm just asking. For those laggards, for laggards like me, for laggards like me, can I jump in at number 4, or do I have to start at number 1? Don't y'all think that's a valid question? Because think about it like this. Number 1 and 2 were designed for the original touch. Now the trim is supposed to be dealing with the triangle. And then I imagine the 4th trim is supposed to deal with the moo cow. Lord have mercy. We're talking triangles and moo cows. This might as well be a kindergarten classroom with letter people. All right. It says the chat says they would make sure you start the series at number 1. See, I'm not into that. Because if I have to catch up to y'all and y'all are on like number 6, I'm going to start to feel like a junkie. And to quote one of the most epic comments so far to come out of all this, a prevention regimen is not supposed to mirror the regimen of someone very ill. Shout out to Hot JavaScript. Like, if I got to take six shots to catch up with you guys, like, I'm feeling a ways about that, and I feel like my body is feeling a ways about that too. Okay. Now, let's get into another little tidbit of information that I discovered over these past few days that kind of fortifies and adds to the point that I've been trying to make this whole entire time. Like when I say I got my reasons, I got my reasons. Dang it, I thought I just grabbed it. Oh, here it is. I did grab it. Okay. Just going to take you and drag you right here. Now, this came out today, actually, September 8th, 2021. Today, we found out that Pfizer picked a touch dose that was far lower than Modern's in order to minimize its side effects, its top scientist says. Okay. So in other words, the Pfizer is a weaker dose than the Modern, which would explain why the nurse practitioner that I was talking to and telling you about at the start of the show said that the Modern is way rougher on the body. Well, now we know why, because the Modern has 100 pieces of that little mess in it, and Pfizer only has 30. So let's read about it. It says, let me make this a little bigger. It says Pfizer's top scientists said it chose a relatively low CV haircut dose to minimize the side effects. So they knew there would be side effects. Pfizer's haircut has 30 micrograms of mRNA, the active ingredient. Modern's has 100. Both haircuts produce similar side effects, according to the Disco. Pfizer's top scientist defended the dose of the active ingredient in the company's haircut, which is lower than in Modern's haircut. Pfizer's haircut has 30 micrograms of mRNA, while Modern's has 100 micrograms. Scientists have speculated that this could be a reason Pfizer's shot produced a lower antibody response than Modern's in recent studies. Y'all didn't know this before you started passing these out? And where are y'all getting all these little proteins from? Where are you getting them from? Where are they being made? Inquiring minds would like to know. And what is the what is the biohazard waste produced from that process? Where do you make them? Where are you manufacturing these things? I just don't like this, you guys. It says Dormitzer added that a higher dose might have risked more side effects. If you look at what's going on with all the haircuts out there, the derailer has often been adverse events that have cropped up, he said. Pfizer's and Modern's haircuts produced similar side effects, according to the Disco. They can include arm pain, soreness, and redness, muscle aches, fatigue, and fever. I see how you all casually left out all the other side effects that have been reported, but it's fine. The Disco has said that a type, right, like right here, that a type of heart inflammation called myocarditis is an extremely rare side effect of both haircuts that resolves quickly. Yet so rare that I hear about it every day. There have been reports of so-called modern arm, an angry red rash that appears after getting Modern's haircut and goes away on its own. Insider contacted Modern for comment but did not immediately receive a response. In the US, providers have given more than 214 million doses of Pfizer's haircut and 147 million doses of Modern's. Modern's haircut boosted antibodies higher than Pfizer's in some studies. So the study of 1,600 Belgian health workers published as a research letter in the Journal of American Medical Association on August 30th found that Modern's haircut produced twice as many antibodies, as Pfizer's at 6 to 10 weeks after vaccination. The author said that the higher mRNA levels in Modern's haircut and a longer interval between doses might explain this difference. Child, okay, I'm not going to read the rest of this. I get weird about linking these articles just because, words, But you can always search Google that title and it should come right up for you, okay? So, the short the short summary of this is that we're just now finding out that but at least between Fizzer and Modern, we still don't know about JJ, but at least between those two, Fizzer only had 30 micrograms of the little proteins and Moderns had 100. So it's kind of like, how can you make an informed choice? How could you have made an informed choice if you didn't know this? What if you wanted to take a lower dose between the two, but you didn't know which one was lower? You just have to guess, you know? And then for people who went and got two of Fizzer and two of Modern, so the Fizzer people got 60 total, the Modern people got 200 total. And if you go get that booster, you get 200 plus whatever else. Like, guys, y'all got to chill, man. You have to chill. I only tell you this because I care about you, okay? I promise you, if I believed in this, I would be promoting it like I promote everything else. I can't think of one thing that I didn't believe in strongly that I didn't promote to you. If I believed in it, I would promote it strongly to you, but I would still say you have to make this choice on your own. I would never become a psychotic tyrant regarding this issue. Like the masks, we've already talked about this ad nauseum. I think the masks are debatable and up for debate. I really do. But this is not up for debate to me. So this is just another example of the information that comes out after the fact. So now if you got Modern, you got 100 micrograms to deal with rolling around in your system. Whereas if you got Fizzer, you only got the 30. So it's no wonder that Fizzers is starting to wear off or the effectiveness is starting to wane. Now, I think it's sweet that they were concerned about side effects, but this is the type of stuff that y'all need to tell people. You need to tell people this on the front end of things so they can make informed choices and informed decisions. And again, we still don't know about JJ. Okay. So there's that, you guys. So far, well, just to recap really quick, Israel is prepping their people for haircut number 4, trim 4. 4. Can you imagine taking 4 needles in 1 year? 4 in 1 year. As if you have rabies. Don't people who have rabies have to get like multiple shots to their stomach? Let me see, just out of sheer curiosity. Out of pure curiosity. Welcome as I look this up. How many shots do you have to take for rabies? 3. Wait, that's pre-exposure protection. Hold on. How many shots? Rabies exposure? 4. I'm gonna put this on the other screen because I want y'all to see it. I want y'all to see this. Copy, drag, paste, and go. Boom. Right there for us. And then let me bring you back. So right here it says a person who is exposed and has never been vaccinated against rabies should get 4 doses of the rabies haircut. So it's like, bro, I don't have rabies. Or do I? Right. Let's not forget the pills that are coming too. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Is Rebound here? I think I just had a revelation. What do we have rabies? Is this rabies? Is this is this human form, human bound rabies? Is what we've been calling the touch, CV, the pandemic? Is this rabies? Do we have rabies now? Would that explain why everyone is going nuts and losing their mind and going crazy and losing it on airplanes and everywhere else, just going crazy? Do we have a human form of rabies now? Which would explain perhaps why they want us to get this haircut so bad because they know we got rabies. Is that what's going on, guys? You can tell us. I think the truth would go a long way. I think the truth would carry us very far. Guys, we got rabies, okay? Period. So you either need to get your pre-exposure haircuts for the human rabies, or you need to get your, just go on ahead and get your 4 doses. Okay. All right. So I'm just playing, you guys. I don't think we have rabies, but hell, 4 doses. If you get exposed to rabies, you got to get 4 doses. So it's starting to feel very rabies-ish. It's rabies light. Okay. Now let's move on. I have one more little update for you. Actually, 2 updates, and then we'll go into just a brief history on the Tuskegee experiment. Okay. Because I think that's very, very important. Now, this was in The Guardian. This was published today, I think. Yeah, this was published today too. It says German COVID super spreader event was driven by poor ventilation, a study finds. So, low grade ventilation systems at an indoor carnival in Gangelt was the leading factor in an outbreak among partygoers. Only my OGs can attest that from day one and from the very beginning, I've been talking about this. I've been talking about changing air filters. So here's another reason for those of you who are listening to understand my reasoning and my rationale. Another part of my reasoning and rationale is I'm not going to go out here and take a pharmaceutical because we're not doing the basics of health and hygiene. And for example, that same doctor's office I was telling you about earlier in the show, when I was waiting to be seen, I was just looking around and I was like, these people aren't concerned with the highest form of health. That's what I would consider it to be, the highest form of health, which means the cleanest air possible, the cleanest surfaces possible, the cleanest floors possible, trash is managed, things of that nature. Now, I don't mean an OCD psychotic germ freakery type situation, but here's what I meant. I could tell the air in there was kind of stale and stagnant. Like I could tell there were no air purifiers running anywhere. I might even smell the faint smell of an air freshener, but I wasn't sure because I had on a mask. But even with the mask, like you can just tell stale air. Like you can tell air that's fresh versus air that's kind of stagnant. I'm like, wow, y'all got stagnant air in here in the middle of COVID. Okay. Then I'm looking around, I'm like, it's dusty in here. Like I'm looking at some of the surfaces, it's dusty. You can tell the floor hasn't been vacuum swept or mopped in probably months, to be honest with you. Um, and I'm not judging because I know how difficult their jobs are. I know that the nurses can't also be janitors. You know what I mean? I don't have that expectation. What I'm saying is people still don't get it. That's my point. You still don't get it. You still don't have a HEPA filter air purifier running. I don't see cleaning vans everywhere. Where are all the cleaners and all the cleaning companies popping in here after you leave to clean up? It doesn't smell clean. I don't even smell bleach. Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's like, it's not, people still don't truly understand health, I think is what I'm trying to say. People still don't understand basic health. So if you still don't understand basic health, then you can expect more events like this in the future. Because whether or not we want to dive into the conspiracy aspect of everything, the fact of the matter is people get sick. We could just stop there, full stop. People get sick, full stop. And sometimes what they have is contagious, full stop. But as long as we don't value true health and we don't honor real health, we will always be sick. And I'm not taking a pharmaceutical because you won't mop. You understand? So that was the doctor's office. Then I went to a store a little later on that day, and it was not, let me take that back. I was going to say it was warm and muggy in there, and it was, but it was warm and muggy because the air is broken in this particular store. And it is oppressively hot in this particular store. And I was just talking to the girls at checkout. I was like, this is not okay. And I will be writing a letter to your corporate office, not only on your behalf, but on mine as well, because I can't even stay in here 5 minutes. And I would actually like to stay in here longer to really look for what I'm looking for, but I can't. It's too hot. And they're like, I know it's been like this all summer. And I'm like, wow. So in the middle of a pandemic, Your air is broken when clean, cool air contributes to keeping viral loads down. But viruses and other bacteria thrive in warm, moist environments. So that's what I mean by collectively, we still don't truly value health. We really don't. We don't value health, hygiene, cleanliness, none of those things. So I'm not taking a pharmaceutical because the human species is disgusting. Do you understand? Now, it would be one thing if something was falling out of the sky. If they were like, hey guys, one of the stars is releasing like this dust, and we don't really know what it is, but we know that it's making people really, really sick, the dust that this star is releasing. So we're making a haircut for it if you want it to kind of protect you against this stardust, right? That's different because to me, that's outside of our control. But when it's here ground level with us, and we won't do everything it takes to control it at the ground level, to me, you still don't understand health. And I'm not taking a pharmaceutical because you won't wash your hands. All right, now let's take a look at. Hey, Rebound, did you hear? I don't think you were here. Man, you're going to have to listen to the playback. Basically, I think we figured out that COVID is airborne rabies. It's human rabies, basically, which is why everybody's going nuts. But we'll get there. You'll hear it on playback. But basically, so I say all that to say they're saying that one of the super spreader events was linked to poor ventilation. So that blows apart your theory that the super spreaders are the unhaircut heathen. All right, but let's keep looking. Airborne viruses recycled through a low-grade ventilation system likely created Germany's first super spreader event of the touch. A CSI style analysis of a carnival celebration has found. Wow. The event at the town hall of Gangelt, a municipality on the border with the Netherlands, was labeled Germany's Wuhan. Dang, that sounds like either a really awesome rap group or album. Germany's Wuhan. Dropping winter 2021. After it was found to be the driver of a major outbreak in the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia last year. Of 411 partygoers who were later tested by the scientists, almost half were found to be infected with the virus. A 47-year-old man who performed in the male ballet at the carnival was the first person in the country admitted to intensive care with the CV touch. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, after spending months analyzing location and movements at the carnival party, researchers now say the town hall's poor ventilation system, which brought only 25% of fresh air into the airflow, was a key factor in spreading the virus among the crowd. Okay, so it says, once again, everything points towards aerosols and ventilation playing a crucial role in deciding whether there will be an infection or not. So these AC systems, y'all, these closed buildings, these boxes that go straight up into the air. I'm not going to read the rest of this, okay? Like, I know they can't go tearing down all the high rises to redo the air systems, but what they can do is start building buildings better. That's one thing they can do to have more airflow. And the least they could have done throughout all of this was swap out the air filters like on either a weekly or monthly basis. Now, would that produce a lot of waste? Yes. Is that very expensive? Oh, yeah. But it's better than swapping out the air filters every 3 months to 6 months. It's better. I'm telling you, it's better, okay? So, but I want y'all to take this as like a holistic thing. What I'm saying is, and this also proves that there's more to the spread than being unhaircut. There really is. Okay. But just to recap, for those who might just be joining, Israel is now on its fourth trim for its residents and mentally preparing them for that. Pfizer purposely picked a lower dose than modern to minimize the side effects. How much lower? 70 micrograms lower. So this leads me to questions about you guys' science. Like, did y'all have meetings about this? Are y'all all just out here creating your own without talking to each other? Because you don't want each other to steal each other's trade secrets? Or like, how is there that much variation? And where are y'all getting all these little proteins from? Where are they being manufactured? Because you would need millions of them. So where do you store, house, and manufacture billions of spike proteins? Inquiring minds have got to know. We got to know. Okay. But if you had the modern, you got shot up with 100. If you had the fizzer, you got shot up with 30. Astrology and JJ, we don't know yet. Okay. Boy, you don't, better not let him put that in you. You're too old for that, honey. Just let it go. Let go and let God. Okay. Then an article came out that said a study found that poor ventilation contributed to a super spreader event out in Germany. Okay. So you can have that in your back pocket to say when they say you unhaircut heathens are killing everybody, say, nah, actually it's your crappy AC system and the fact that you don't want to change these air filters but once in a blue moon. Now, I will play devil's advocate only long enough to say that those air filters are very expensive. The good ones are very expensive. Very expensive. Like unnecessarily expensive. Like stop. Like this is paper. It's like fuzzy paper. Okay. So stop. But anyway, I do love them though. Love a good air filter. All right. Now, one more thing, and then we'll get into Tuskegee. The EU has officially listed a rare nerve disorder as a possible side effect of the astrology haircut. This came out, wow, what, 58 seconds ago? I don't know. September 9th, 2021 at 00.58. Okay, I guess we're from the future. Let's go. Ah. Oh, yes, I remember this because I mispronounced it on the news break. So if you tune into the news break, a couple of months ago, you heard me refer to this as Julian Julian Barr. It is not Julian Barr. It is Guillain-Barré. Okay. But how would I know that? Come on now. In fairness, how would I know that? How would I ever know that? But it says Europe's medicines regulator has added an extremely rare nerve damaging disorder, Guillain-Barré. My brain wants to say it wrong. Guillain-Barré syndrome as a possible side effect of astrology's haircut. Regular safety updates from the watchdog showed on Wednesday. The European Medicines Agency said a causal relationship between GBS and the astrology haircut, known as Vaxzevria, 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 was at least a reasonable possibility after 833 cases of GBS were reported. Dang, 833 cases of GBS were reported out of 592 million doses of the haircut given worldwide by July 31st. Now, see, when they write it like this, they're writing it to show you that, look, guys, it's only 833 people out of 592 million doses, which is their way of trying to say to you that it's almost impossible for it to happen to you. But the thing is, it happened to 833 people. So if you were in a room full of 833 people, you would probably feel a little crowded. Like you would probably be like, wow, there's a lot of people in here. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the other thing that they casually and frequently leave out. This is just what's known. So what if somebody suffered from Guillain-Barré? I have to keep saying it correctly, otherwise my brain will go right back to Julian Barr. Guillain-Barré. What if people are experiencing it, but they just don't know what it is? Because perhaps they blame it on something else, which we're very good at doing. Like, I don't know what it says nerve damaging disorder. I don't know what the specific symptoms are. Let's see if they tell us. But no, they don't. Let's say somebody, maybe one of the symptoms we'll just say is arm weakness. One of your arms goes weak. Well, maybe they assume they heard it when they were working out. Or maybe they assume they heard it when they were lifting something the other day and they lifted and threw out a disc or something. So people could be going through these side effects, but blaming them on other things and certainly not making the connection between the two. Like I would never make a connection between what I'm currently going through and the flu haircut that I had until it just started to all the puzzle pieces started to come together. And I was like, oh my God, I think I was haircut damaged. You know what I mean? But the way they make you think about them, at least in the past, was it's harmless. It's the same thing as if you just caught it out, walking around, and it's just giving your body the antibodies ahead of time just in case you come across it. But I would never imagine in a million years that they could potentially have anything in them other than like salt water that could be harmful to the body and damaging long term. Like the more I think about it, the more I'm upset with myself for not having more pause and not having the pause then that I do now. Like, again, up until that point, I had never taken one because I just really wasn't into the idea, to be honest with you. I was like, I think I'm good. I don't think I like that. I think I'm good. But again, like I shared with you guys, I was in a very sick environment. Like everybody was always sick. So I just didn't want to catch what was going around. And I did not have this level of critical. I think I was always a critical thinker, but I didn't apply it towards this at the time. And I really regret it. Hold on. I need to clean a tiny little face. Hold, please. Okay, I'm back. And as usual, lost my damn train of thought. All right. So let's move on. I just wanted you guys to know that they have officially now linked Guillain-Barré syndrome to the astrology haircut, okay? And I forgot what point I was making prior to cleaning a tiny little face. So I think that's a sign that I just need to move on, all right? But do you all see how this is just slowly coming out, rolling out bit by bit by bit? Like I didn't know what to expect exactly, but I knew that there would be more. There's always a long tail on these things. And the way that they are is very money driven, and they're less concerned about public health and more concerned about making that money. They want the money. And now that they've seen how much money they can make off of this, a global worldwide health pandemic, they don't want it to stop, which is why you got pills coming. And I joked about a shake. So we'll probably have like a COVID shake by the end of the year. Some little concoction you can mix up at home and drink, and it'll do things for you. Okay? So there's that. All right. So there is your haircut update. That's where we are now. Who knows what tomorrow holds? Okay? Who really knows? Now, let's talk about this Tuskegee experiment. Okay? I think this is very, very important to recap. Number one, if you hear a tiny elephant, it's a cat. Really? Do you have to make it all that loud? It's so pitiful. Oh my goodness. Wow. Sorry, y'all. Mommy duties. Come here, my little baby elephant. Come here. Oh yeah. I know. There we go. Is that better? Is that better? A little bit. Okay. Well, you just sit there and smack your lips while we learn about the Tuskegee experiment, okay? Okay. All right. Now, again, many people wonder about the relative hesitance and hesitancy surrounding haircuts in general, but a lot of people just can't understand the distrust that not only Americans have towards the federal government, towards the fad, towards the disco. I really should just say their actual names for the sake of history. Um, but I'm just trying, y'all know how it is. Why so much distrust? Well, slavery among other things, but that's neither here nor there. That was like 400 years ago. There's no like side effects from that or anything. But bringing it up to present day, this didn't end until 1972. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to give you a high level summary, which is essentially the Tuskegee experiment was an experiment carried out on some unwitting African American sharecroppers, I believe they were, where essentially, I think they either all had, well, see, I don't want to butcher it, y'all, with the summary, but basically, they engaged in a medical experiment guided by the FAD and CDC under false pretenses that ultimately made them sicker, and some of them died as a result of this experiment. Okay. Basically, they knew that some of them had syphilis, and they just wanted to see what would happen if syphilis went untreated in a population. They just wanted to see what would happen. So they lied to them. They came out and gave fake medications. They gave placebos. They were promised medical treatment. Some of them never received it. Some of their babies were born with syphilis damage as a result of this. Some of their wives contracted syphilis as a result of the husbands not knowing and, bringing it home. Oh, it's horrible. It's a really horrible piece of history. So when you are unsure why we don't trust these people, I think you need to know, and I think you'll find this very interesting as well. Before we read this, the CDC actively acknowledges it right on their website. Let me make it a little bigger just in case you can't see it. So in your upper left-hand corner, you'll note it says Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Up in the URL, you'll see cdc.gov. And then you see a header there, the U.S. Public Health Service Syphilis Study at Tuskegee. And then you'll see it says the Tuskegee timeline. Okay. So this is literally on the CDC's website. And you wonder why we have trust issues. Okay. So this is really brief. We're going to read this, then we're going to look at the other one. Okay. It says in 1932, let me make it just a little bigger. In 1932, the USPHS, working with the Tuskegee Institute, began a study to record the natural history of syphilis. It was originally called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male, now referred to as the USPHS Syphilis Study at Tuskegee. Oh, so y'all took the Negro male part out. Leave it in. Leave it in. Why don't you leave it in there? The study initially involved 600 Black men, 399 with syphilis, 201 who did not have the disease. Participants' informed consent was not collected. Researchers told the men they were being treated for bad blood, a local term used to describe several ailments, including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. In exchange for taking part in the study, the men received free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. Well, thanks. By 1943, penicillin was the treatment of choice for syphilis and becoming widely available, but the participants in the study were not offered treatment. So, in other words, in 1943, penicillin was available to treat syphilis, y'all, but they didn't give it to them and they didn't tell them about it either because they just wanted to see what syphilis would do. In 1972, an Associated Press story about the study was published. As a result, the Assistant Secretary for Health and Scientific Affairs appointed an ad hoc advisory panel to review the study. The advisory panel concluded that the study was ethically unjustified. That is, the results were disproportionately meager compared with known risks to human subjects involved. In October 1972, the panel advised stopping the study. Y'all, October 1972. It started in 1932. This went on for 40 years. 40 years. 40 years. Okay? Stopping just in the 70s. Okay? Um, In October 1972, the panel advised stopping the study. A month later, the Assistant Secretary for Health and Scientific Affairs announced the end of the study. In March 1973, the panel also advised the Secretary of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare to instruct the USPHS to provide all necessary medical care for survivors of the study. The Tuskegee Health Benefit Program was established to provide these services. In 1975, participants' wives, widows, and children were added to the program. In 1995, the program was expanded to include health as well as medical benefits. The last study participant died in January 2004. The last widow receiving THBP benefits died in January 2009. Participants' children continue to receive medical and health benefits because keep in mind, guys, some of their kids were born with either syphilis or syphilis related illnesses or birth defects. Okay. Later in 1973, a class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the study participants and their families, resulting in a $10 million out of court settlement in 1974. And in May of 97, Bill Clinton issued an apology. So they didn't even apologize for it until almost like a little over 20 years later. Yeah, 72 to 92 would have been 20 years plus 5. Hey, quick math. 25 years later, they apologized. So, all things considered, you guys, this is recent. Like, this is in our lifetimes. Like, there might be people listening tonight who were alive when the Tuskegee experiment ended in 1972. I would hope so, because that would only make you about 10 years older than me. I hope you're still here. So, I take that back. There's definitely people, I don't know if they're listening tonight, but there's definitely people still alive who were around when the Tuskegee experiment ended. And there are probably some people who are alive when it started. They would be in their 80s now? Like their late 80s. Let me see here. Quick math. 2021 minus 1932. Yeah, they'd be 89 years old. Okay. So again, the recap is they just wanted to see what would happen with syphilis in the body untreated. So they chose a group of 600 Black men to experiment on and promised them all kinds of different things. We're going to learn a little bit more about it here. But among those things, they promised them health care, treatment, basically made them feel like they were really part of something special. Okay. And groundbreaking. And they were receiving none of those things. They weren't receiving treatment. They weren't being told the truth about their health status. The 300, I don't know if they knew they had syphilis or not. They may have known. I think they knew. And I think that was the whole point. They called it bad blood. But these people knew that it was syphilis. And they knew syphilis was bad, but they just kind of wanted to see what would happen if you leave it untreated. Well, they found out severe health problems, including blindness, mental impairment, and death. And so the question that this presents for me is, this is just the one that we found out about. This is just the one. Yeah, I didn't know it lasted that long either. I had no idea. When I looked into this further, like I had always, of course, heard about the Tuskegee experiment. I'd always heard about it, but I assumed we were talking maybe like something that occurred over the course of a few months, maybe like 6 months. I did not know this thing lasted for 40 years, you guys. That's a lifetime. And the generational effects of that are still being felt because the children are still alive. Okay. They're older, but they're still alive. So when you wonder when we have why we have trust issues, and again, for me, it begs the question, which study have y'all just not gotten caught on yet? What studies are ongoing currently that y'all just never got caught on? Some of the original survey or scientists have died, so they'll never talk because they're dead. Um, what else has been going on underneath our noses we don't know about? And then y'all come running out here with the same on the same energy. You see the same energy here? Got the needle for you, got a smile on my face, got my arm out with my sleeve rolled up. It's the same energy. Same energy. So you have to forgive us if we don't trust you. You'll have to forgive us if we don't believe you. And you'll have to forgive us if we have a whole lot of hesitation surrounding this. You really will. Okay. So let's read about this a little bit more. And again, for those of you who had never heard of this, please really absorb this. And this is your meditation homework for the weekend, okay? I really want you to meditate on the United States government and one of the educational institutions willingly subjecting American citizens and human beings to a 40-year experiment that, had it never been caught, I'm sure they never would have owned up to. So God bless the journalist who found the story out and exposed them, because otherwise, would they have ever known? You know? So it says the Tuskegee experiment began in 1932 at a time when there was no known treatment for syphilis, a contagious venereal disease. After being recruited by the promise of free medical care, 600 African American men in Macon County, Alabama, were enrolled in the project, which aimed to study the full progression of the disease. The participants were primarily sharecroppers, and many had never before visited a doctor. It's so upsetting for so many reasons. Because again, it goes back to that trust. So trusting, had never visited a doctor. Doctors from the U.S. Public Health Service, which was running the study, informed the participants, 399 men with latent syphilis, and a control group of 201 others who were free of the disease. They were being treated for bad blood, a term commonly used in the area at the time to refer to a variety of ailments. So this would have been the people, or these are actual participants. These are actual participants of the study. So it's just sad because, like, I see, like, my great grandfather, you know what I mean? Old school, you know what I mean? Who just wanted to see a doctor and get health and medical treatment. And they thought so little of them as human beings that they just did whatever they wanted to them because they figured, no one will ever catch us. You had to think that to carry it on for 40 years. You had to think that you would never get caught. So what else do you think you won't ever get caught on, huh? What else do you think will never be exposed? Please forgive us if we have trust issues. Says the men were monitored by health workers, but only given placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements, despite the fact that penicillin became the recommended treatment for syphilis in 1947, some 15 years into the study. So in other words, they could have stopped. They could have stopped. Well, they could have at least said, hey, the study's still ongoing, guys, but we got penicillin now. Do you want some? But no, they never even told them. And keep in mind, the internet and phones and all that did not exist like that. Sure, they had books and things, but do you think these men would have been able to get their hands on medical books regarding penicillin? Do you think many of them could read? And I'm not making fun, I'm being for real. Do you think they were literate? So even if they could get their hands on the medical information, do you think they would have been able to read it? This is why informed consent is so important. And this is why medical advocates are so important, because if a person can't read, at least somebody will be there for them to read it to them and help them understand what they are agreeing to. Do you see what I'm saying? So it was really, really dirty what they did, really shady. Oh, but it gets better. It's not over. Um, PHS researchers convinced local physicians in Macon County not to treat the participants, and instead, research was done at the Tuskegee Institute. And it's now called Tuskegee University, founded in 1881 with Booker T. Washington as its first teacher. Okay. I don't see how y'all could go there knowing what they agreed to. But anyway, in order to track, maybe they lied to the school too, but it sounded like the school knew exactly what was going on, right? Or they conducted the research there. I don't know if the school knew though. So I won't accuse the school. I'm sorry. I'll retract that statement because I actually don't know if the school knew. It says, in order to track the disease's full progression, researchers provided no effective care as the men died, went blind, or insane, or experienced other severe health problems due to their untreated syphilis, y'all. So these researchers sat here and watched these men die. They watched these men go blind. They watched them go insane or suffer from other severe health problems just so they could conduct their research study. So who are we to believe that y'all are not in the process of conducting another research study? Because when I was at the doctor's office earlier this week, I asked her when she was telling me about, she kept saying, viruses are very smart. She was like, viruses are very smart. I said, okay, well, tell me this. I said, how would I be able to tell the difference between if I've contracted the flu or if I have contracted COVID? And literally, y'all, I put her on freeze. Just silence. She just looked at me like as if that was the first time she had been asked that question. I said, so COVID, how would I know the difference between it and the flu? And she just looked at me like, because I think the answer in her mind was, there ain't no difference. Ain't much of a difference. Because then after I put her on freeze, she then went into, well, you're going to get the fevers and the chills and the aches and, you'll just know. And I'm like, well, but how would I know the difference though? How do I know if this is the standard flute, or if this is something I need to go to the ER for? No answer. Now, I'm not saying that the healthcare system has been paid off to not provide these types of answers, but these are the types of answers that would make someone like me feel more comfortable. Like, for example, I'll give you the perfect example. The common cold produces more symptoms than the flu, from what I understand. So the cold is going to make you sneeze, cough, runny nose, red eyes. You're going to be, I think the word is expectorating. You're going to be kicking stuff out of your lungs, basically, for quite a few days, if not a few weeks. With the cold, a flu doesn't always have symptoms right away. The flu, you just suddenly feel bad. Like you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Then you feel hot, like really hot. Like you want to get out of your clothes hot. But then as soon as you get out of your clothes, you're freezing, like bone chilled freezing. And then you want to put your clothes back on. And then that cycle continues. Then the muscle aches as if you worked out, like a real vigorous workout. So I give all those details to say, I clearly could distinguish between the cold and a flu. I can tell the difference. But how do I tell the difference between the flu and COVID? The fact that you as a healthcare provider can't answer that question for me pushes me further and further away from your haircut, because you should be able to answer that quickly. Oh, well, when we see these three things, we know for sure it's COVID versus the flu. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, I wanted to make sure I said that. It's not necessarily related to this part, but I just remembered that as I was talking. And as they say, the men watched as these people went blind, died, went insane. Well, I know why I wanted to talk about that. It kind of contributes to the argument that people are making of treatment, which is, hold up, pause. We have treatment for everything else. We don't have treatments for this. Like in terms of like, once you get sick, can I take an antiviral? Are there any medications I can take? Pfizer is working on it. Pfizer is working on your pills. Give them time, okay? They're developing your pills. Relax. They've already told us and mocked and made fun of another drug that I won't say because I'll get in trouble. Um, but the point that these other drugs are even popping up in conversation is because they're acting like there's no other treatment for this. And I have a question. Does COVID produce the mucus symptoms? Like, do people ultimately need to like cough? Is there anything to cough up? Does COVID produce mucus? Because if so, putting people on their back and putting a tube down their throat is probably not helping. Probably need to put them on their stomach, put a bucket under them with some hot steam and some lemon juice in the water and maybe a pinch of salt, and to sit there and walk by and hit them on their back every few minutes and let them cough it up, let them exercise that shit up out of their lungs. But you got them on their back with a tube down their throat. No wonder they're dying. But see, I don't know the answer to that question though. I don't know if COVID produces mucus symptoms. I don't think it does. I'm not sure. But anyway, guys, back to the article. In the mid 1960s, a PHS venereal disease investigator in San Francisco named Peter Buxton found out about the Tuskegee study and expressed his concerns to his supervisors that it was unethical. In response, PHS officials formed a committee to review the study, but ultimately opted to continue it. Wow. So they reviewed the study, they saw it was unethical, but went forward anyway. Does that sound familiar? Wow, history repeats itself. Two senior FAD officials just quit because they're saying y'all don't go forward with this, and these people are going to go forward anyway. So it wouldn't be the first time in history that something was reviewed, determined to be unethical, but gone forward with anyway. We know how you operate. I'm judging you based on how you operate. This is not a conversation about science to me. Like I told my father, oh, I trust science. I don't trust the scientists. This is how you move. You review something, see that it's unethical, and then keep going. Okay? Opted to continue it with the goal of tracking the participants until all had died. Autopsies were performed and the project data could be analyzed. So, in other words, you guys, they were not going to stop until every single one of them had died. I did not read this article in its entirety before I brought it to you. This is my first time reading that part. So, their intention was to not stop until every single one of them was dead so they could perform an autopsy, so they could collect the project data, and all of this without the consent of the participants. Okay? How very sad. Buxton then leaked the story to a reporter friend who passed it on to a fellow reporter, Gene Heller of the Associated Press. Heller broke the story in July 1972, prompting public outrage and forcing the study to finally shut down. By that time, 28 participants had perished from syphilis, 100 more had passed away from related complications, at least 40 spouses had been diagnosed with it, and the disease had been passed to 19 children at birth. So you see, fooling around with the disco and just trying to make sure I'm accusing the right people here. Was the fad involved in this? I feel like I read that, but maybe not. Well, the U.S. Public Health Service was. Close enough. The decisions that they made in the past literally carried on through generations. 40 spouses and 19 children. No, excuse me, 28 deaths. So 28 fatherless children. Y'all, please don't get me started up. It's almost 3:00 in the morning. So you created 28 fatherless families, fatherless households. You gave it to 40 spouses and 19 children. So and so the disease carried through to the babies, generational. And who knows what fanned out from there? Who knows if those 19 children have gone on to give something to their kids? They may have been able to get the treatment to prevent it from passing on, but who knows, right? So you all not only did something that caused harm to the individual participants, you all engaged in something that caused generational harm, legacy harm, harm throughout the years. And you wonder why we have trust issues with you. You wonder why. You wonder why we don't run out and stick our arm out and believe you just because you say it's safe and effective. Yeah, I'm sure this guy told all these guys that what he was putting in their arm was safe and effective as well. I'm sure he told them that. That was probably among their language of choice. Don't worry. Hey guys, hey, don't worry. This is safe and effective, okay? It's coming from the researchers, from the scientists. Now some would come through and argue and say, "Oh, but PTE that was a long time ago. Wasn't that long ago?" It was it was approximately 89 years ago actually, which is long enough for some people to still be alive. We have people in their 90s. But your argument to me will be, well, PTE, we didn't have computers and we didn't have the internet and we didn't have the ability to collaborate and network with other scientists and share our data and hold each other accountable. And but we have that now, PTE, and I don't think we would do anything like that again. And I think that we've really come a long way. And I think that everyone just wants to come out of this pandemic. And I don't think anyone wants to kill anybody. And I don't think anyone wants to research anything for 40 years. I think this is just us just trying to get our lives back to normal. And I say, yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and send you this link and I want you to read this article in its entirety. And then I want you to come back and we're going to talk about what you read. Okay. So this is real. This is verified. This lives, one of the accounts of it lives on the CDC's website. So you got to understand why we got some trust issues. Okay. You really got to understand that. You got to understand why we may never trust you again. You know? And then you might argue and say, well, PTE, but you've gotten other haircuts and you take other medications that are prepared by the same companies. That is a fair and good argument. The first series of haircuts I got, I had no control over because I was a baby. The only real haircut I think I've had actual control over was the flute haircut that I got, and I regret it every day. So your first round of arguments is almost 100% valid. Now, your second round regarding things like headache medicine and things like that, those things have been tested for a while. Like Tylenol has been on the market for a long time. And I'm not saying that one day Tylenol may not, or I'm not saying one day Tylenol may not, maybe, I don't know. It's a double negative and I can't get it right. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying one day they might not, I can't get it right. One day they might figure out that even Tylenol is harmful. I'm not saying that it is. What I'm trying to say is we may make a discovery in the future regarding that, but at least for the most part, it's been out long enough for us to observe it for a while. You know what I mean? Like all these new little drugs and things they come up with, I don't jump on those. I like to let things sit for a while and work deep into the population just to see, just like they wanted to watch these men for 40 years. I want to watch your drugs for 40 years, see what they do. So I think if these people can conduct a 40-year study, we have a right to wait at least a year to see what a haircut does to the general population. Hasn't even been out a year. It came out in December of 2020. So, like This was meant to fill in the gaps for anyone who had heard of the Tuskegee experiment but may not have known the details. I am among that group. I did not know that this went on for 40 years, had no idea. I also did not realize that the effects carried beyond the participants to their families, their children, their wives, spouses, and that, you know, even still, like Bill Clinton apologized in 97. So it's like this is recent, guys. This is recent for us. This is still new. The wound is still fresh, if you will. Okay? So I want y'all, and then the other part of me presenting that was for the people who'd never ever even heard of it before, in particular my international viewers. This is something the United States of America did. They did this. Undeniable history. And God only knows what else they've done that we just haven't caught them for yet. Okay? Now, let's move on to one more item and then we will close out the show. Thank you all so much for being here. I enjoy having you here. It's just good to hang out and talk, and find some like minds regarding this issue, honey. Man, like I've just never been more. Someone said it best earlier. They said this issue has more clearly divided or more clearly illustrated who people really are more than anything else as of recently that we dealt with. And I think I couldn't agree more that you just never, we didn't know up until this point, number one, who would do what limits people would go to for their employer, which, wow, I'm stunned, as if your employer has done so much for you. Like literally, they just got through threatening you to get you to come back to the office and threatening to cut your pay if you didn't. Remember, Google not too long ago was threatening to reduce remote workers' pay if they chose not to come back to the office. So the same company who's threatening to reduce your pay because you want to remain remote will then turn around and demand for you to get a haircut or threaten to fire you. And those who went along with it to prevent being fired, honey, you got so much abuse headed your way. Boy, I wish I could describe it to you. And I might actually do a separate stream just to detail for you in a predictive fashion how much and what types of abuse you have headed your way. Now, if you got the haircut because you wanted it, to protect yourself for your own personal reasons, that is different. That is completely different. Meaning if your employer had mandated it or not, you would have gotten it. That's different. Those of you who ran and got it to preserve your job, I cannot begin to describe to you the types of abuses you are getting ready to endure. Okay? So that's one group that we've identified. Then another group that we've identified is the group that is basically like, it would not matter to me if I had to starve to death. I am not taking an injection I don't want, period. Kick me out of my house, deny me food, put me on the street, arrest me, do whatever you have to do, but you will not violate my permission to exist. You won't do it. And that group, the second group, is actually smaller, I believe, you guys. It's smaller, which also explains why I feel like we are around, but we're very spread out. So like you're not going to live next door to someone like you more than likely. I hate to say that. I hate to tell you that. But the odds of you finding a like mind similar to yours right next door, if you find that, cherish it because it's rare and it's a gem. Like you've been blessed. Because most people, like I'm just so stunned. This is turning into a different show. I should save this. But I just cannot believe what people are willing to do just to be able to go to a restaurant and a movie theater and a concert. Like, wow. Like, Those things are great, but are they really that great, guys? To where you would take a new pharmaceutical product in your body, in your arm, the same shady individuals that sparked the opioid crisis, the same shady people who are getting sued over baby powder right now. So you can go to a restaurant, a club, or a theater. The gym, I kind of like, I don't understand taking an injection just so you can go to the gym, but I get that people want to maintain their physical health. So I can understand, and you may not live in a place where you can go running or walking or anything. You may not live in a place like that. It may not be feasible. So the gym might be the only place where you can actually go work out. So I kind of get the desire to go back to the gym. I think it has a very positive end result, which is, health and fitness. I get that, but I don't understand drooling at the mouth to go back to these little tired restaurants, honey. These restaurants gave up 20 years ago. And the fact that you all act like you don't see that. Now, listen, some of you live in cities like New York where y'all have amazing food, amazing international food from all over the world, some of the best restaurants in the world. I can understand you missing that life. That seems like it would be a lifestyle. Like, that seems like it's very much a lifestyle in a place like New York. Like, going to a restaurant on the way home from work is like second nature, or stopping by a restaurant to get breakfast in the morning. Second nature. You know what I mean? Having lunch with your friends. Get it. Second nature. Got it. Got it. I get that some people don't cook. Got it. Can't starve to death. Got it. But what I'm saying is, can we please stop acting like they were out here serving up like food? Very tired. Can we please stop pretending like they are out here serving up food that you lay in bed thinking about, and you say to yourself, I cannot wait for them to open tomorrow. Because as soon as they open, I'm going to line up and I'm going to go get a number 3 large with, extra sauce. Like, and again, I would never say that some of you don't have that. And if you do, I don't think you realize how blessed you are, because some of us live in food deserts. I don't live in a food desert per se. Like, I have quite a few grocery stores near me. There's a couple little tired restaurants, honey, but when I say tired, I do mean tired. Like, even the menu is tired. Like, I am so sick of chicken wings, celery, chicken wrap, BLT, hamburger, chicken sandwich, fries, soup of the day. Like, and again, that's what cooking is for. Cooking is so you can control what you eat and put in your mouth. I get that. But understand the mixed message. The mixed message is, well, PTE, if you're not satisfied with your food choices, cook. Got it. But if I cooked exclusively, now I'm killing my local economy because I'm not patronizing my local restaurants. Then if everyone start, it really isn't though. The comment says the food don't even be that good. It really isn't though. It's usually lukewarm. And I hate lukewarm food more than I hate cold food. Just send it cold. Just let it get cold. Because when I put it in my mouth and it's lukewarm, that's what makes me want to hurt people. You understand? And hurt people hurt people. And I'm hurt. I just put this lukewarm food in my mouth, and my brain is confused and not happy about it. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, all the food is dry. Y'all, why do y'all want to get me started on this? The food is dry. Okay? Dry chicken, dry bread, dry potatoes, dry French fries. Like, how you mess up French fries, I'll never fully understand, but they do every day. It's like all the moisture has been sucked out of the food. I think that's killing us more than almost anything else. The food has no moisture in it anymore. It's dry. So anyway, wow, that really took me down. I guess I was triggered. I said all that to say, I cannot understand taking an injection to go sit up in these tired movie theaters, these tired restaurants, and these tired little concert venues, honey. That's all I'm saying. With the exception of people who need to eat. That's it. That's all. So if you live near good food, you guys are blessed like you have no idea. If you have options, like if the biggest problem you deal with is trying to decide because it's all so good, you are blessed beyond measure. And I just want you to know that, okay? I might need to do a separate show on that. It is dry. It's dry. Like it's unbelievable. Like when I compare the food I cook for myself to the food I receive on a day to day, usually from these restaurants, like I feel like my food was prepared with love. And I feel like the food that they're giving us is prepared with hate. Who has the best chicken fried steak? Where at? Who has good food, y'all? Like, I'm so over it. Like, I feel like Pfizer, or Pfizer, whatever, Pfizer, y'all out here developing COVID pills. Can you just develop a little nutrition pill? For those of us who are just tired of seeking food, I'm tired of food seeking. You know what I mean? It's the seeking for me. I'm tired of food seeking behaviors. I don't like it. It's irritating. I'm tired of thinking about it. I've been thinking about it for well over 30 years now. And I would actually like to just go ahead and pass that responsibility off to you guys. It looks like y'all going to own us anyway here pretty soon. Can you just make a little food pill, honey? A little nutrition pill that I can just take in the morning. It gives me all my vitamins, all my minerals, a few fats, and just makes me not even think about food. Can you do that? All right, y'all. I don't know. I don't know how we ended up over there. Let's round this out really quick and then we'll get out of here. I just want to make sure everyone is aware that there is a patient bill of rights. Again, shout out to the viewer who brought this to my attention and suggested that I bring this on the show. Thank you for the idea. I'm just going to breeze through this because I want you all to see how many of your rights are currently being violated in the form of mandates, haircut mandates, and things of that nature. Oh, and I'm very concerned that Biden might attempt something as foolish as a nationwide mandate. And if he does, Biden, we are firing you. I'm already thinking about firing you anyway. I was going to save that thought until the political season, but I'm so displeased. So if you pass a nationwide haircut mandate, we will fire you next election cycle. We will. We will. But there's a Patient's Bill of Rights. What is the Patient's Bill of Rights? Here you will find a summary of the Consumer Bill of Rights and Responsibilities that was adopted by the U.S. Advisory Commission on Consumer Protection and Quality in the Healthcare Industry in 1998. It is also known as the Patient's Bill of Rights. It was created to try to reach three major goals. One, to help patients feel more confident in the U.S. healthcare system. The Bill of Rights assures that the healthcare system is fair and works to meet patients' needs, gives patients a way to address any problems they may have, encourages patients to take an active role in staying or getting healthy. The second goal was to stress the importance of a strong relationship between patients and their healthcare providers. The third goal is to stress the key role that patients play in staying healthy by laying out rights and responsibilities for all patients and healthcare providers. The Bill of Rights also applies to insurance plans offered to federal employees. Many other health insurance plans and facilities have also adopted these values. Even Medicare and Medicaid stand by many of them. One sec. Okay. One day we shall have a soundproof studio. All right. So it says information for patients. You have the right to accurate and easily understood information about your health plan, healthcare professionals, and healthcare facilities. If you speak another language, have a physical or mental disability, or just don't understand something, Help should be given so you can make informed healthcare decisions. So there's a violation right there. It says, so I guess that's number one. Number one is the information for patients. Number two is the choice of providers and plans. Sorry for the background noise, y'all. You have the right to choose healthcare providers who can give you high quality healthcare when you need it. When you need it. Not when someone else says you need it, when you need it. Number three, access to emergency services. If you have severe pain, an injury, sudden illness that makes you believe your health is in danger, you have the right to be screened and stabilized using emergency services. So, right now, there are celebrities and talking heads going on public airways saying that Jimmy Kimmel said this last night or recently that basically, if you come into, if like a heart patient comes in who's unhaircut and one who comes in that has the haircut, to treat the one with the haircut, not the one with the who doesn't have it. Like, y'all, that goes against every medical ethical code like ever designed. Like, we literally stabilize people who've overdosed on different drugs, fentanyl, um, uh, what's the meth, all those. Like, we will literally drive an ambulance over there, give them a shot of that thing that wakes them back up and stops the overdose from happening. And we literally do that for people who have chosen to take those drugs and accidentally overdose. Like, you're not supposed to judge how a person got there. And that's got to be hard. I'm not saying that that's easy. That's got to be hard for people to come in sometimes who are just flat out irresponsible. But think about it like this: even someone who breaks their neck in the crate challenge deserves emergency services. I mean, that's just the reality of the life we live right now. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to judge how they got there. You're just supposed to take care of the person. Okay? It says that you should be able to use these services whenever and wherever you need them without needing to wait for authorization and without any financial penalty. So, right, exactly. We treat prisoners as we should. Exactly. They're human beings. Like, the goal is not to be inhumane. Like, I think that would probably be one of the most difficult things to be as a doctor, neutral, or like to have to keep treating someone who you see keeps bringing this on themselves, like, and they just won't stop, and you have to keep going back and fixing it. That's got to wear on your psyche, but they do it though, and that as they should. You know what I mean? So that was number. So that's one, two. So that was number two. Number three, taking part in treatment decisions. You have the right to know your treatment options and take part in decisions about your care. Parents, guardians, family members, or others that you choose can speak for you if you can't make your own decisions. Do you see the word employer in there anywhere? Yes, it is against their Hippocratic oath. You're 100% correct. 100% correct. Okay? 100% against their Hippocratic oath. You have a right to know your treatment options and take part in decisions about your care. The only time that is different is when it's a parent, guardian, or family member speaking for you. Nowhere in there does it say an employer. Nowhere. Okay? Excuse me? The chat says so there's supposed to be a national mandate tomorrow. Okay, we'll get into that. I'll look at that here in a second. Biden? Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you said that because that reminded me of something else I wanted to share. All right. So your employer is not meant to take part in your treatment decisions. That's not in the patient bill of rights. And I don't think it ever will be. It shouldn't be. It says you have the right. This is the right to respect and non-discrimination. You have a right to considerate, respectful care from your doctors, health plan representatives, and other healthcare providers that does not discriminate against you. So these doctors who are turning away patients who are unhaircut, these celebrities and talking heads who are suggesting that hospitals should not treat people who don't have the haircut, do not realize that they are advocating for discrimination. They really are. Okay? They're advocating for discrimination. That you cannot do this. It's not right. You have the right to confidentiality or the privacy of your health information, which means you have the right to talk privately with healthcare providers and have your healthcare information protected. You have the right to read and copy your own medical record. You have the right to ask your doctor to change your record if it is not correct, relevant, or complete. Nowhere in there does it say anything about your employer. You have the right to complaints and appeals. So you have the right to a fair, fast, and objective review of any complaint you have against your health plan, doctors, hospitals, or other healthcare personnel. This includes complaints about your waiting times, operating hours, the actions of healthcare personnel, and the adequacy of healthcare facilities. Oh, that means I can file a complaint and tell them to clean up. No, I'll be nice because they gave me my exemption. And finally, you have a right, or here are your consumer responsibilities. In a healthcare system that protects consumer or patients' rights, patients should expect to take on some responsibilities to get well and or stay well. For instance, exercising and not using tobacco. Patients are expected to do things like treat healthcare workers and other patients with respect, try to pay their medical bills, and follow the rules and benefits of their health plan coverage. Having patients involved in their care increases the chance of the best possible outcomes and helps support a high quality, cost conscious healthcare system. Okay. All right. And then let me give you guys this link so you'll have it. And then let me look up what Millennial just wrote in the chat, a national mandate. Man, okay, so let me give you my thoughts on that real quick. So, remember at the start of this year, so here's that PDF I was just reading from. Link is in the chat. Remember at the start of this year when I did the prediction show for fun? And part of my predictions were that the right wing was going to rise up basically against the federal government in regard to all this election stuff. And it was going to get really violent and it was going to be really bad. And all my thoughts regarding that were stemming from what had taken place on January 6th. Then, like a show or two ago, I told you guys, I said, well, I'm definitely not a psychic because all of my predictions are wrong. I said, but the year is not over yet. Remember I said that? Y'all, I think I might have been right, y'all. I think I had the right idea, wrong context, basically. So the right play, wrong stage, basically. Right actors, wrong stage. So let me give an updated theory to what I think I might have actually gotten correct. So initially my prediction again was based on everything that had taken place on January 6th, right? Regarding the election and stolen election and all this, that, and the third. So I thought that was going to lead to an even bigger uprising because that's what it looked like was going to happen. But after they started getting arrested and things like that, everything kind of died down. But if this boy goes through with this national mandate, I think there will be chaos. And yes, it's going to appear that primarily it's coming from the right wing because they've been the most vocal against these mandates. But I don't think that they realize that there's more than just the right wing who's not okay with this at all. And also, what happened to voting? We don't vote on things anymore. They vote on everything else. Like, is it in an emergency situation? They don't have to vote. Is that how that works? Let me see something. National mandate Friday, 9/10/21. National mandate. Where'd you hear that from, Millennial? Are those rumblings from the fringes? Or did you hear that somewhere else? Because I know that for a fact he's already said, he already told employers, require it. It's been approved by the FAD. It's safe. It's effective. So employers require it. When I heard him tell employers to require it, I just couldn't believe my ears. Like, I just couldn't believe this is the man that I voted for. I couldn't believe he ever would think that that's a good idea. I couldn't believe Kamala, the same person who said that she would not trust a Trump rolled out haircut, who then, I guess, went and got one on air. Okay. Saying like, didn't push back. And I'm not saying she didn't. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. And Biden doesn't really look or seem like the type of person who can be reasoned with. Remember I told y'all somewhere recently, somewhere on one of these streams, I said, what I've come to realize is if I was in a room with a Republican and a Democrat of the same age, like two 70-year-olds, like a 70-year-old Republican and a 70-year-old Democrat, they're both going to treat me the same way. They're going to treat me the same way, which is basically to disregard me, basically. And they both would be doing it probably on the premise of age, primarily, then gender, then race, or some combination of those three. But my point in that was that, the defect exists on both sides, you know. So I say that to say that Biden doesn't seem like he can actually be reasoned with. Like if I was in the room and I started talking, he probably immediately cut me off or wouldn't let me finish my sentence or anything. And I mean that. So he probably does the same thing to Kamala. So if she tried to object, she probably was rapidly overridden. But the fact that he encouraged these psychopaths who already are trying to figure out different ways to get their grip back on you, to mandate and require a haircut, really, that did it for me, y'all, in regard to Biden. I'm sorry. Like the only way Biden would be able to recover from this for me is if he passed some program that made it super easy for me to buy a house. Like super easy. Like tomorrow I could go pick the one out I wanted and buy it because of the new program. That would start the forgiveness process. That would start the forgiveness process and then have it all go through, like have the whole purchase go through and all that. And my rent is my mortgage would be substantially lower than my rent, substantially. That would start the forgiveness process. Then it would be cool to see a good chunk of my student loans wiped out. Now we can start having a conversation about forgiveness. The house starts the forgiveness process. Okay. Kind of like if you're applying to a job, step one is you have to fill out the application that starts the job application process. Canceling the student loan debt, the house starts the process. Canceling the student loan debt would like submit the application. You know what I mean? The application for forgiveness. Then I got to think about it once I receive it. And then once I decide whether or not I'm going to forgive you after you've done those two things, we'll talk. We'll talk about other actions you can take to repair that. Right. I kind of feel the same way as you, Lincoln. Says nothing could make me forgive medical tyranny. Right. Like just the fact that you would ever even think that that's a good idea. Because I'm like, doesn't he have kids? Like, how would he feel if some stranger was telling his kids, hey, you better take this or else? Hey, you have to take this. And one of my coworkers one of the detractors brought up a good point. They said, what if I don't want to do business with any of these pharmaceutical companies? And when I use the term do business, I don't mean pay for it because these are free. These are free. But what I mean is, what if you just don't want to support them in any way? What if you don't want to be a patron of their products? What if you don't want to be a patron of Pfizer, Modern, JJ, Astrology? What if you don't want to be one of their customers? What if you don't believe in drugs? Like, what if you're one of those people who just simply does not take drugs? Like, you don't take headache medicine, anything. You just drink water and cranberry juice. And that's how you treat yourself. There are people out there like that. Like, you cannot force me to engage with big pharma. You can't. I try to stay as far away from big pharma as I can. but you cannot force me to engage, okay? But millennial, if you find that or if you remember where you saw it, send it to me because it sounds about right because it really sounds like that is the direction that they're leaning in. And if they lean in that direction, I honestly believe that's what will kickstart that prediction that I had earlier in the year. Again, right, correct actors, wrong stage, right play, wrong theater. So we shall see. I hope not though, because I think that would get really ugly really, really, really fast. Really fast. But we really don't, it doesn't have to go that direction because truly, if they just start firing everybody or everyone starts quitting who refuses to take the haircut, well, they'll quickly have the economy they had right when it was reopening, which is you'll have partially and understaffed offices and businesses and restaurants, people who won't come in, can't hire people because you tell them at the interview, well, you know, you have to get a haircut to work here. And they say, okay, well, no, thank you. So, what talent pool exactly are you going to be pulling from? Because your talent pool is going to shrink. It is. Your talent pool is going to dry up real quick, real quick. And then, if the predictions that are being made regarding this haircut come true, you're going to go out of business because your employee population will be ill, and then everyone else who could work for you refuses to take the haircut. So you'll be stuck between a rock and a hard place. You'll be stuck between employees who are always taking off to go see the doctor to figure out why their kneecaps are popping out a place and their joints are slipping and sliding all over the place. Okay? Sick all the time. And then the other group who would love to come work for you, but they refuse to take a medical product just to secure a job. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, y'all, and it actually made me sad. And I don't mean to share a sad thought with you, but I just think, I don't know, I think it's important for me to share things with you. And the thought I had was this. I was like, man, I'm fresh out of ideas. I was like, I always thought if I just apply myself, if I just go to school, get this other degree, you know, then I can apply to other jobs and, you know, try to position myself and I can work, you know, I have a good brain, a good work ethic, and I can just work and survive. Like I can take care of myself because I can work. But it's like, I feel like they've taken away or they're trying to take away one of the things that's always been super important to me from the very beginning. Like, if any of you have read my Kindle ebook, Surviving Narcissists in the Workplace, my basic thesis in that book is work is necessary. Work is required for life. So, because work is required for life, it should not be a place that you go and get harassed. And that book was written on the premise that you would always be allowed to work, that you'd always be allowed to work. You know what I mean? So now that they're trying to take it away, I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, I'm fresh out of ideas. I said, I don't know what else to do if they won't let me work. I know how to work. That's the one thing I've always known how to do is work. I've known how to get a job and work and pay my bills and work and survive. Like work has been like a survival thing for me. Well, obviously, work is a survival thing for everyone. But what I mean is like no roommates, no spouse, no boyfriend, not even children, because after your kids reach a certain age, they can become helpful. They can pick stuff up, they can carry grocery bags, they can go down one aisle of the grocery store while you go down the other. They got their list, they pick up all the stuff on their list, bring it back. That's help, honey. Sorry, that's help. I know kids are expensive. I know they cost a lot of money and they require a lot of caretaking. But once they pass a certain age, they become help. So, what I'm saying is, I always viewed work as my help, if that makes sense. Like my work or working is my help. Since I don't have the physical human help to fall back on, work is my help. So now to have that threatened indefinitely, because I don't think they're going to let up, it makes me sad in ways I can't even describe it to you guys. Like, I really can't describe the sadness because it's like, well, now what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, that was my answer. Working was my answer, basically. Work was my way out. So now that that's being threatened with the option of take this shot or you're not allowed to work, honey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do next. And my concern now has superseded my employer because I'm just thinking about the number of psychotic freaks who are currently mandating it for employment now and the possibility of a nationwide mandate. Because if it becomes a nationwide mandate, my employer has every leg to stand on. My employer will simply say, well, this is federal law. This is no longer us requesting this of you. This is federal law. So you have to abide by federal law or we will fire you because we're not going to have felons working for us. You see what I mean? Yeah, the chat says they hot JavaScript. I hope you right. I hope you right. You're good. I want to display this. It says they want you to orient yourself around dependence. Yes. They want you to orient yourself around dependence. Absolutely. Another hot one from Hot JavaScript. Thank you, Hot JavaScript. Yeah, they want you to be dependent children for the rest of your life. And truly, y'all, for the first time, I feel like I understand the phrase or the old quote. I don't know who said it. Sorry. I know my historians are going to kill me, but give me liberty or give me death, honey. I feel like I understand for the first time. Like I always understood it at a cerebral level. Like, give me freedom or give me death. Okay, all right. Who wants to be oppressed? Who wants to be locked up? Like, who wants to be a slave? Like, I understood it at an intellectual level. But for the first time, I feel like I understand it at a soul and a core level. Honey, give me freedom or give me death, honey. Because death sounds better because the world that y'all are trying to design sounds miserable. And I'm telling you, I'm going to give you nothing but problems day in and day out. Like, if they ever round us up, honey, whoever our catchers are, if they can catch me, whoever our catchers are, I'm going to say, hey, buddy, you might want to go ahead and take me out now. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to give you nothing but problems in here. I'm going to try to organize a riot, you know. Bless you. Bless you. I'm going to try to organize a riot. Well, hello, kitty cat. Y'all don't want me to organize the riot? YouTube, for your little crawlers, all I'm saying is hypothetically, if they come round us up and try to put us in a camp somewhere because we won't take this medical product, I'm hypothetically designing a situation where if I was encamped, I would try to rabble rouse the attendees. That's what I'm saying. Boy, you got to be clear out here. But it's cool. I'm recording this anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I will. I would absolutely inform them. Like, y'all might want to go ahead and scoot me out of here now because I'm going to do everything in my power to get these people fired up. I'm going to watch your every move. I'm going to study your little operations. I'm going to figure out the narcissism in the system and exploit it. Okay. I'm going to do all of those things to you. I want you to know that. So you might want to go ahead and just, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. Okay. But no, I didn't say it earlier. It's from history. It's one of the presidents might have said it. Let me see. Who said give me liberty or give me death? Who said it? Patrick Henry. Name sounds familiar, but y'all know how I am with history. But now I really do mean it. I really do need to brush up because I think it's important. And not knowing history has a cost. It really does. So I understand what it means though. It's like who wants to live life as a free prisoner? You know what I mean? being made to take any medical product that they cook up in their lab and pass out like cotton candy and say, hey, hey, this is the next best thing. This is the next cool thing. Take it. You know what I mean? Because it may seem like a leap, but what if the next leap 20 years from now is, hey, everybody, um, the birth numbers are really low, which they are. The American population is in decline in terms of birth numbers. So, what if in 20 years they say, hey, everybody, not only is abortion illegal, but so is birth control because we need y'all to have these babies. So, we are going to outlaw birth control and you're no longer allowed to take any type of pharmaceutical birth control. And we're going to outlaw condoms too because we want you to have babies. We need you to. And this is a national health crisis. We don't have enough people. So we need these babies pumping out. What would be stopping them from that? If they can force you to take a shot, they could force you to have a baby too. They could. They could force you to do anything. Any new injection they come out with, they can force you to take it and tell you that it's for the public good. They could. So it's like, oh, honey, y'all can go ahead and wipe me. I'm good. Y'all can go ahead and take me because I will never consent to anything like that, anything. And I truly feel like I'm starting to fully and thoroughly understand who I am as a human being, how I differ from a lot of the people I've known, narcissists in particular, but really just a lot of the people I've known, how I differ and why I differ. I really see it now, y'all, for the first time. Like, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. The difference between being a person who has a sense of self and someone who does not. Because when you have a sense of self, you protect it. Like, you protect yourself. When you have a sense of self, you protect it. When you have no sense of self, there's nothing to protect. And that's how these people get involved in all these different crazy situations, get sucked into cults, end up taking 1,000 different medications for someone who just wanted them to do it for their sake, really. You know, this is how it happens. So, above all other things, you've got to develop your sense of self and you must protect it, because if you don't, you'll give it away to anybody and everybody. You will. All right. But with that, you guys, it's roughly 3:30 a.m. where I am, even though I'm still wide awake. I wish I felt like this during the day. I swear I wish. Wish I had this type of energy during the day. I would get so much done. So now I have to go occupy myself for 2 hours until I get sleepy enough to fall asleep. But I appreciate you all. No after show. I'm so sorry. But I appreciate you all being here. I hope some part of this was informative, especially the Tuskegee Experiment. Tell a friend if you think there's someone who may not know. Tell them about this so they know exactly what happened and why people feel the way that they do and why people have all kinds of reasons for saying no. There's more than one reason for saying no usually. And this is one of them. That and the fact that Israel's on number 4, they got different dose levels, honey, and the different cuts. And they've confirmed Guillain-Barré syndrome. Honey, that and all that tied together, the answer is still no. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And those of you listening on playback, I hope you enjoyed the show as well. But that is all. Sign up for the mailing list. You can find out the details on that in the description box. And oh yeah, this weekend, I'm planning something very special for you guys. I hope it works. Hope my plan works. It should. So do tune in to this channel this weekend if you can, and we will do that. So I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon, okay? Take care. Bye.